Well, on to the big story that we're tracking all morning here on Headlines Today. The centre has submitted the black money list to the Supreme Court. 3 lists containing 627 names have been submitted in a sealed cover to the Apex Court. Now, this comes a day after the Supreme Court ordered the government to reveal all names of people with black money accounts. Also, very importantly, the Apex Court backed the SIT investigations into the black money list. The court entrusted the SIT to investigate the list, setting a March 2015 deadline to complete the probe. Also, the SIT has been asked to share information with agencies like the Enforcement Directorate and the CBI.
The SIT will open the sealed covers. The SIT will thereafter see what they have to do, and they will then proceed in accordance with law in whichever manner they desire. I had pointed out to the court that the same list, full and complete, had already been on 27th of June been given to the SIT, but the court has sent it again. The court has permitted us to place our problems before the SIT for further negotiation of some other treaties which we may have to do, and wherever there is some economic impact of withholding tax under an American treaty which, if not signed, will result in some economic adverse impact. So we will be placing our problems in regard to the treaties before the SIT, and we shall then request the SIT to submit their report to the Supreme Court, which is to be submitted by 30th of November, in which our problems will also be contained.
That was Attorney General Mukul Rohatgi talking about the status of the investigation. The government, remember, has submitted 3 lists to the Supreme Court comprising of the list of account holders, also comprising of the status report of the investigation and comprising of the list of treaties. The court has directed the SIT to in fact look into the sealed cover, the revelations of that sealed envelope not being looked at by the Supreme Court, the Apex Court directing the SIT to in fact carry out further investigations. Just to take our viewers through a timeline of what exactly is going to happen now. Well, on the 30th of November, the SIT is supposed to be submitting a report to the Honorable Supreme Court. 3rd December is when the next hearing comes up in the Supreme Court, and March 31st is in fact the deadline for the probe in the black money matter. All right, joining me live at this point in time is my colleague Jaskirat Singh Bawa. Jaskirat, you've been tracking developments from inside the Supreme Court. It's been a historic day in a certain sense, but many also asking the question that just is a revelation of 627 names at this point in time really enough to bring back black money?
Well, first of all, we have to understand these 627 names are not guaranteed to, they're still under investigation. Many of them are under investigation. As the Attorney General informed the Supreme Court today, only a little more than half of these 627 names are those of resident Indians who come under the tax laws.
Right.
So those are also under investigation. The Supreme Court did not open this envelope, did not open any of the sealed envelopes, passed it on to the SIT, which the government says already has the list of these names which are under investigation. So really, what we saw today was, you can say, there were no really observations in the same manner or the same tone and tenor as the Supreme Court had made yesterday when they indicated to the government that you just get the information, we will pass it on to the SIT and let them investigate.
Right.
You do not have to investigate the matter. So what we are seeing today is the Supreme Court stepping in to perhaps act as a catalyst to increase the pace of the investigation, setting a deadline for the SIT of March 2015 for the initial completion of this probe, and also setting a deadline of end of November for the status report to be submitted. On the 3rd of December, when the next state of hearing is there are some of the things which will be happening is there will be a new bench, because one of the judges on this bench is Justice Desai, Ranjana Desai, who in fact retires today. So there will be a new bench which is set up. Apart from that, Mr. Kejriwal has also filed an intervening application which is not considered today, but may be taken up and considered on that day. At the same time, the status report of the SIT may also be taken up for consideration on the 3rd of December.
Well, absolutely. Also, Jaskirat, the question that many people are asking at this point in time and perhaps needs a little bit of clarity is the fact that the centre has in fact said that the government has submitted this particular list to the court-constituted SIT on June the 27th. And if I'm not wrong, the same list is now being forwarded by the Supreme Court to the same SIT.
A very good question, and that's a question that only perhaps the bench could answer by itself, because there were no apparent answers to that. Was the Supreme Court trying to create a sort of a catalyst or increase the pace of the investigation, or was it trying to tell the government that in any case the SIT which is set up was as per our own orders,
right?
So we will take over the reins of the investigation? Those questions can best be answered by the bench itself. And the Supreme Court, the next date of hearing, which is the 3rd of December, will in fact pretty much give us a tone and tenor as to how this will be done going forward.
Well, absolutely. Also, Jaskirat, what is of immense consequence today is the fact that the Supreme Court has observed that all of these revelations must be shared, with the Enforcement Directorate. They need to be brought into the probe, something which the ED claims that the government has denied to them so far.
What's made the SIT's role even more important today, taking a cue from your question over here, is that the government is now at liberty from the Supreme Court to make its representation with regards to the confidentiality clause, which was a bone of contention for the centre over here. They will now make that representation to the SIT.
Right.
Now, at the same time, the centre told the Supreme Court today that there are 7 ongoing discussions on treaties with foreign countries, including the United States, which will be instrumental in getting more further information on black money account holders, and those treaty discussions are held up because of the confidentiality clause. So the centre will now go through the details. Apart from the confidentiality clause, whatever other hiccups are there, whatever other problems the centres are facing, they will now make a representation to the SIT, which obviously indicates the importance of the SIT. And the SIT has been given the liberty to share information with the ED, with the CBI.
Absolutely.
I should point out right now that just yesterday the Attorney General was also indicating that perhaps sharing the information with the CBI could be a contravention to the treaties that are being signed in terms of the confidentiality clause.
Right.
However, some of the treaties are in fact being modified to allow information to be shared with investigating agencies like the CBI.
Absolutely, but that also raises a very, very crucial question on if what really is going to be the impact of modification of these treaties on future tax treaties that the country may have to sign. Jaskirat Singh Bhava, thanks so much for joining us with that update.